The truth is that they are amazing. Hello guys, welcome back to Not Just Mecha. It's Marco here, and today we keep speed painting skaventide in high quality, this time using only oils. Painting with different media and tools at the same time is a staple of the channel, and my way of painting. But fearing a bit the algorithm and the general audience response, I kept the pure oil painting content a bit sparse. But in the context of our deep dive into fun, army and speed painting options, I would feel guilty not to show some advanced oil painting. And the objective here was to very quickly build up a render that looks like a classic acrylic job. Because you really don't need to compromise on anything when you simply change the painting medium. And with a bit of practice, oils can be really sharp and precise, even on small scales. The only bit of acrylic paint in this project is used for priming. You want something tough and stable, because, well, it's a layer of primer. And, super important, it should be extremely matte and porous, because oils need a grubby, spongy foundation to properly root and soak into the surface, lose the extra oil from the top, and naturally get a nice matte finish. We'll talk more about this aspect later. I will not go into too much detail about materials and super basic application. So, if you are a complete beginner with oils, check my oil painting playlist to get all that foundational information. Also, starting from white and operating only with oils is not the most beginner-friendly approach. So, even if not crazily complicated, consider to make first some experiments on a model with the basic tones and general scheme preset in acrylics. Again, this is all in my dedicated playlist. Especially for speed painting, I like to start with a combo of imprimatura and subtractive value sketching. Because of the intrinsic nature and relative transparency of oils, they work better on a light or medium value canvas, and with a dark to light workflow. But light doesn't necessarily mean white. That in every medium is a desaturating agent and vibrancy killer. So the imprimatura is a staining of the canvas meant to set a general undertone, break the dead monotony of white, and to enhance this aspect I also used a light green as primer and base, and make the surface a bit more active and dynamic with a lean and gentle oil priming. Then you can expand on its technical possibilities by introducing a selective cleaning of the excess of paint that generates by elimination an automatic blocking of solid shadows and monochromatic low and high midtones, creating a first illusion of depth and volume. On a canvas you use a rag to, air quotes, paint the volumes with the different translucency levels of the stain, and this is totally the same. But this is speed painting, so my cleaning is only relatively selective, taking advantage of the third dimension, and letting the actual sharp volumes of the sculpt dictate what is cleaned and what remains. Later I'll be more controlled and precise in the handling of light and volumes when moving to proper painting. And we immediately move to proper painting. Note the use of zinc white to avoid building up too much white opacity over the nice sketch. I have a full video about the uses and importance of zinc white in your quiver, both oil and acrylic. There are infinite ways to tackle the oil painting process, and exactly like for acrylic workflows, every painter has his own style and preferences. Plus, since the oil paint medium has been around for more than a millennium, against the mere, more or less, 60 years of acrylics, you can easily imagine the amount of discoveries and the gamut of techniques that can come from all that time of constant use and experimentation. So keep an open mind on workflows and different takes. And if you are intrigued by the topic, be vocal with likes and comments, and I know you want me to dive deeper into these possibilities. My objective in this stage is to quickly block the basic tones of the scheme. The deepest shadows have already been set by the imprimatura, and except for some blending around their edges, I'm not going to touch them at all. So, I'm completely focusing on the hue and value of the midtones, both when mixing the colors and when I'm applying them all in their specific positions. I like my oil paints thick and creamy, so I tend to use them basically straight out of the tubes, with just a microscopic quantity of white spirit, to make them a bit more fluid and flowy. And the specific different dilutions mostly depend just on the intrinsic higher or lower densities of different brands. And after every main application, I gently blend it with a clean, soft and completely dry brush. This touching the surface not only creates a gentler flow of values and shades, stretching the borders of the applications, but it also fixes the finish, erasing brush strokes and witness marks, and it makes everything more matte, breaking and micro-texturing the external structure of the layer of paint. And I do this quick blocking for every major tone of the scheme. One of the beautiful aspects of painting with oil is the extreme lack of precision needed in basically every application stage. That is not something like painting eyes. Yup, even super sharp edge highlights. And this creates a ripple effect that changes the whole painting process. Since you don't need any laser focus sharpness, from the beginning you don't need high quality super pointy brushes. You really don't need a steady hand. And even a basic blocky layering becomes a golden demon level of smoothness, smooth flow, with almost no effort. And all this without mentioning the possibility of correcting or even erasing any mistake with absolutely no consequences. And you quickly realize that the real protagonists and game-changing tools are the blending brushes that truly make the magic happen, and that you should have in a variety of shapes and sizes to cover any procedural need. And of course, you can keep doing these subtractive removal tricks at any stage. Oh, and I base through metals in the same way. Metallic oils are great, and you can easily establish a similarly quick flow with a bunch of interesting values and tones inside. And this is the result of more or less half an hour of work. Yeah, oil painting speed is something crazy. Here I'm literally chuckling by myself behind the camera for how surprisingly fast this has been. And this is the palette of tones I'll be using from here until the end. Note that I switched from zinc white to titanium white, because I'm ready to build up sharpness and definition with a higher opacity. And for the same reason, and also because in general they are easier to handle, all my colors here are in the opaque and semi-opaque spectrum. Here is a juicy, advanced nugget of oil painting tech. Depending on how comfortable and confident you are with oils, and the level of rendering you are trying to achieve, you can intercut more or less waiting time in between these two stages of blocking and sharpening/refining. To put it simply, if you jump immediately into the stage, all the previous layers are super lively and more prone to move and mesh. That's an amazing thing to quickly generate incredible blends and complex flows with no effort. But the load of stuff happening all at the same time can be a bit too much. So you can let the surface set for a while, and then come back with a new layer over a more and more stable base, depending on how much you wait. The extreme of this approach is letting these lean layers dry overnight, or even for a day. So the surface you get will be totally stable, like a static acrylic layer. Way more manageable, but with the sensible loss of some of the positive automatic behaviors. To balance the needs of the scale with the sharpness of the rendering I'm looking for, and the focus on speedy gaming painting, I personally wait half an hour to 1 hour, depending on the thickness of my application and the temperature in the room. Just to give the volatile white spirit, that's the liquid part of the paint, some time to completely evaporate, and see how the layers physically settle in terms of brushstroke retention and finish. And if I don't like a spot here and there, I gently touch it with the blending brush to uniform everything. Most of the oil-related miniature painting content out there, even mine, because it's easier to visualize and explain, and also crazily quick, focuses on fast and painterly alla prima approaches, where you paint the full model in one continuous, uninterrupted run. But most of Canvas, non-impressionistic and non-en plein air oil painting, and advanced display-level oil painting on figures, is made taking advantage of these in the process of drying/dry layers. An average of 3 to 5, depending on the personal preferences of the painter and the level of sharpness needed. In my case here, I'm working with in mind 2.5/3 layers. Color blocking, refining plus extra tones, a bit fused with the blocking, and final sharpness. The general big picture tech can seem very complicated and subjective, and it kind of is. Even without introducing to the discussion mediums and additives, but in terms of the actual painting and moving the brush around, everything is crazily simple. Like when layering with acrylics is all about smaller and smaller applications, but there is no need to adjust transparency, brushstrokes, or introduce different techniques. The same opaque application and blend can cover every possible need in its raw simplicity. Apply and blend is the mantra to repeat over and over, from start to finish, where blending is just a swipe or a gentle tapping on the surface. After a second pause, I'm now officially in the third layer of quick refinement. That's actually super quick, because the literal physical extension of things to do is so small that it's really a matter of a few minutes of work. The key concept to remember for effective oil painting is to use microscopic quantities of paint each time. Oils cover and spread 10 times more than acrylic, and the thinner you keep your layers, more easily controllable they will be, and more matte the final finish will be. Because you'll not have any excess of oil on the outer surface. And of course, everything will dry way faster. Again, boosting even more the matte finish, in a healthy, positive spiral. And if you keep the consistency of your paint on the thicker side, even super sharp textures or stuff like edge highlights, still on a more or less active surface, are easy to maintain crisp and highly visible. I close by showing off a bit with a gentle pass of a green interference color to give a sinister warpstone glow to the true metallic bits. I can feel hours talking about true metals in oils. "24 hours of setting and drying later, here is the final result. I will not physically touch the model for another day or two, but everything is dry to the touch, and the outer layers and the general finish are totally and completely set and stable. This was less than 2 hours of work. I know, it's absurd, but these are oils. 3.5 if you consider the waiting times between layers. But during those technical pauses, I took the kid back from school and prepared dinner, so I cannot really count them in the painting time. I hope you enjoyed this pushing forward the discussion on oils and on more advanced territories. And again, if you want to see more about this topic, let me and the algorithm know that oil painting on the channel is interesting. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe. Remember that you can ask me anything down below with a comment, you can follow my projects during the week using one of my socials, or watch me painting live on Twitch. Check the schedule of the streams on the Twitch homepage. And if you want to support my work, check my Patreon page and join the community, or maybe ask for a commission. See you next week, guys!